Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Get Good EU. My name is Nekra. I'm going to be filling in for Shy Guy for the second game of the day, and I'm joined once again by Chef Billy. And Chef Billy, we just saw a phenomenal series, but now we're going to be moving into the expert bracket with BEESWARM and Nike Exiles.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, coming into this, Nike Exiles coming in 4-3-1 here in season 5 of Get Good. BeastWarm coming in 2-2, and looking at the team sheets that I've seen so far, looks like we've got a kind of dueling ethos here from both teams. Looks like there's a ball diva tank line coming out of BeastWarm that I love to see. Kind of a mechanical dive-ish
Hmm.
uh, feel to it. Nike kind of showing the other side of it, looking like they can either run the double shields or they can run the Rhine Zarya. So I think tank lineups are going to be what sets the tone of this match here in the expert division today, Necra.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. Kind of looking at the meta as it stands, we are kind of in a rock, paper, scissors meta where you've got the double shield, you also have the dive, and you also have kind of like the rush style of composition. So when you take a look at all those three together, it just looks like Nike Exiles is going to have a little bit more of that flexibility in their kit in order to kind of work around the dive. But a strong dive can be very, very difficult to dismantle.
I mean, mobility is going to be the name of the game, isn't it? I mean, it's really what we want to see. Who's going to be able to aggress onto who the quickest, and who's going to be able to secure those kills if a dive does indeed come out. Also, if Neptunes is going to be on the ball, how fast does he generate mines? How fast does Diva, the Olsic player, bring out the self defense or the self destruct? I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing that we're looking at is how do we decide what kind of aggression they're going to be able to show.
Yeah, I feel like the diva's gonna end up being a huge shining star in terms of aggression when we have our first map being Lijiang Tower, especially when you take a look at how dive-centric this map can be. I feel like you're right about the diva sticking out here.
So, looking at depending on where we start at, um, the wrecking ball could be actually a very good pick for environmental kills along the bridge or along the outside of the point there, depending on how good the grapples are coming out of Neptunes. But I'm really looking at will we see double shield or are we going to see the Rhine Zarya come out from Nike Exiles? Because, the pinability of a Reinhardt can kind of be denied by what Wrecking Ball does. You get the stun just the same as a pin coming from the Reinhardt. So this is going to be very clashing right now.
Yeah, when you take a look at the Reinhardt and you take a look at the double shield coming in from Nike Exiles as they make their way to point with this symmetric teleporter, you definitely want to pay attention to how BEESWARM is going to respond to this. When they have the Wrecking Ball, they won't be able to mitigate the Earth Shatter coming through, so lots of aggression coming in from Nike Exiles as they make their way to point first. The control point unlocking in 5 seconds. Nike Exiles is primed and in good position in order to take it first.
But looking at Beer King on this May, that's going to be able to slow a ball down in a hurry. Also, the walls to be able to stop the in and out nature of what a Wrecking Ball really wants to do with protection. Texor already having a barrage online, getting 3 out the gate, Necra.
Oh my gosh, that was a huge barrage coming in from Texora. I thought the point was had by Nike Exiles. They were able to cap it first, but the patient play from BEESWARM was able to bring it back. They're going to be able to take the control point back and off the back of just a single barrage.
I mean, that's ultimate economy at its finest, Necra, and Emerald in the interim has gotten the nano boost available. Olsic 70% to the self-destruct. Nothing much on the other side other than Jazz to be able to nano boost one of her teammates, and I'm really looking forward to see where this nano boost is actually going to land.
Looking at how we see this experimental barrier used in order to respond to these rockets coming in from Texer, but 3 directs, 3 kills already. That 4 BEESWARM taking firm control of this point and firm control of this series so far.
It shouldn't work on paper, Necra. This should absolutely not be working, but the mobility of all the members of BEESWARM right now are absolutely keyed in onto the defense of Nike's. They are not able to even really make an ingress onto the point. Blizzard is going to have to be used very judiciously and hopefully not get eaten by Olsic, who is already worked up to the self-destruct.
Oh, self-destruct. Blizzard not able to get eaten here. In fact, there was an anti-nade right on top of that D.Va mech to make sure that that D.Va will not have that utility for later. But all the while, Devil King able to find that kill really opens up a possibility for Nike Exiles to make it to point. Gravitic Flux comes out. Castleton is able to secure 2 with this one before getting taken out themselves. But I feel like the Wrecking Ball is coming into play here for BEESWARM. That mobility that you talked about, just able to skirt around point here. Even Sneaky Salmon is having a hard time finding their mark onto this point.
Indeed, I mean, just looking at what, the ultimate gain by BEESWARM, it seems like their ultimates are almost on cooldown right now. Neptunes did invest the mines, but he is being so bullish towards Devil King on the Reinhardt for Naxi Exiles. They don't know which way to turn.
No, especially when you have a D.Va bomb that gets thrown into the air and Texor cleaning everything up with that Pharah barrage. BEESWARM securing this first objective 100-23.
That was a statement point if I've ever seen one. Texor on the Pharah right now, raining hell from above, and the sustain that is being shown from them. Mari and Emerald, or Mari and Emerald on the Ana Mercy combo, keeping their team up throughout all these really chaotic fights that are going on right now. The chaos is what's winning them the day right now.
The Chaos is for sure winning the day, but Texor is going to be slowing things down a little bit, switching over to the Mei, and you also have BEESWARM just kind of matching what Nike Exiles was running as a composition. I like that Nike Exiles is going to be using the Symmetra strategy once again. Let's see if they can make it to point first and keep control of it this time.
That Lucio coming out from BEESWARM, they're going to be able to match some speed, maybe not necessarily the Symmetra strat to get them there first, but, walking into what we're seeing Texor being on this Mei right now is going to prevent a lot of aggression from them.
A lot of aggression coming out super early from Nike Exiles, actually forcing out the Immortality Field from BEESWARM. A huge piece of Emerald's kit, not able to be used a little bit later. But all the while, even though the Immortality Field was pushed out early, it does look like BEESWARM has this point and they have this map control under their belt, but a huge anti-nade comes through, taking out that main tank of BEESWARM. But trades coming back and forth as Ulsic is highlighter charge, just deleting members left and right and trying to even the field. Immortality Field coming back online to give some sustain into BEESWARM, but Junkrat finds the kills, finds those angles, and is able to control this point for Nike Exiles.
Mortality barriers coming out from Sky for Nike Exiles, absolutely crucial in the mid fight. It was a back and forth seesaw take of the point. You've got to look at Riffler right now on the McCree. Got to be able to zone out the DPS in the back line of Nike Exiles.
The DPS ends up being super important here as we are starting to see ultimates come online, but you don't even need them if BEESWARM is just going to take out members early in this fight. As soon as Nike Exiles takes back the point, I feel like we're seeing history repeating itself here as BEESWARM takes it back.
Indeed, and that was a very well rotated take of the point there. Rifler coming up with the Deadeye in the middle of the fight. Neptunes also has the Earth Shatter online, and right now the Mei strategy, walling people off and being able to deny them the aggression coming in through the choke is what's really going to deny any kind of aggression. But the tire does come out from Sneaky Salmon, and he takes out one of the healers.
One of the healers down now for BEESWARM, and it's the Lucio, the most important on the team, able to move everybody around and make sure they can micro position. But Devil King continues to work through the Graviton that got brought out by Ulsic as the sound barrier comes out too for Nike Exiles. Blizzard right on top just to ensure this point gets recaptured. But there's just ults happening left and right, team fights happening all over the point, but still kill feed lighting up in red. The reinforcements from Nike Exiles are coming back though, and it's the main tank line here for the Nike team. Is that going to be enough though? I just don't think so, as we do see the DPS cleaning up from BEESWARM.
And it's just usage of the ultimates to get in there and get around what Nike Exiles was trying to throw at them. I think that the sustain of BEESWARM right now is what's keeping them up. The AoE healing from Marby and the Immortality Field from Emerald it's really stopping the aggression coming in. You've got to look at the walls coming up from Texor. Texor has been cordoning off the main tanks of Nike Exiles with precision in every single team fight.
Let's take a look at those walls coming in from Texor, but I'm going to be looking at this Gravitic Flux first. Everybody caught in the oh 06 grab once again, and the Deadeye comes through. There was no shield. Where did it go? Devil Kings went down, and so did the members of Nike Exiles. Even though Sneaky Salmon is bringing it back and trying to with the Riptire, the Immortality Field is there, but goes down just barely in the nick of time to save BEESWARM. But BEESWARM still takes this first point of Lijiang and the first map of this series.
That was as frenetic and chaotic as of a fight as I have seen for Control Center. Just nobody willing to give up an inch of space, and the main tanks seem to be going down first, and for both teams, and the off tanks really had to carry along with the DPS. But I really want to shine on these support sides for both BeastSwarm and Nike Exiles. Jazz is getting quite a few nano boosts onto the off tanks and really bringing up their health and also the damage reduction coming in from it. I think that was one of the key things that really Nike Exiles can focus in on and really take advantage of as we move into the more technical parts of Overwatch.
You mentioned bringing down the front line, and like remind us again why that's so important, especially because when we are playing in this double shield meta and you have these impactful DPS, why are those shields so important?
I mean, you've got to be able to keep the lines of sight open. You've got to be able to really allow the space to move forward and allow that your DPS gets the line of sight and gets the damage down, not only to the tank line, taking down tanks, so important, but also to deny the support coming from the back line. And without a support, DPS tend to fall pretty quickly.
Well, you already paid attention to the differences in terms of the support lineup for both of these teams, where we had an Ana on one side, but not on the other. So is that why the Bionades were so impressive, especially when there were shields on both teams?
Depends on if the immortality field is there. It'll keep you up, but you won't get any healing while you're in it. So it still keeps you in that very perilous position. I think that the mobility brought out from Beastworm there was one of the keys to why they did so well in the mid fight.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how we're going to see Nike Exiles come back from this one, as it is going to be Rialto as the next map in the series. And BeSwarm switching up sides here wants to try their hand at the defense first.
I like it. Especially watching, seeing what the DPS composition came out from them on Control Center. We did see Rifler go out on the McCree. Maybe
Mhm.
looks like in their kit, they do have a Widow available. So I think that could be something with the long sight lines on top of the theater there, on top of the hotel balcony there. I also think that Neptune can be disruptive with this ball, but I think that the lack of shielding, should they decide to go with the ball diva composition here on defense, could play into a little bit of what Nike Exiles wants to do with the more brawly comp that they've shown on both maps of Lijiang.
So Brawl, a little bit more brawl centric, a little bit more dive centric, but there is a lot of high ground that a dive composition could take advantage of on the map of Rialto, especially when you take a look at the first and second point. With the way that Nike Exiles has been playing this game with this more brawl heavy style of composition, that tends to fare better on third.
I mean, it would be absolutely good on third, but they've got to get there first. They've got to get past Texor. We just saw a Pharah clinic coming out of them on night market. I mean, getting two player barrages out of it. I really would like to see, you have the concussion blast as well that could get some environmental kills here at the beginning of the defense. And also, if you do bring out that Widow, that's going to put it in the back of Nike Exiles lines that you've got to be looking long, and you're going to have to maybe deny some of yourself that brawly composition. You're going to have to get somebody out there to contest what they may be bringing in.
Well, I really like the change up here that we're seeing from Nike Exiles. We saw Sneaky Salmon flex over to the Pharah a little bit on that first point before we moved into Control Tower. And I expect that it's going to come out here. And I think that Beer King going over to the Widowmaker is also a really nice heads-up play by Nike Exiles, where they may have an idea that Rifler is going to be on that Widowmaker as well.
And I think that the immortality barrier usage from Sky is going to be really the pivotal point. Are they going to be able to use it in the most impactful positions? And are they going to get it to where Rifler or Texor is not able to destroy it and deny the usage of it? That's the first thing.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I agree with you on the the point about the immortality field, because there's a lot of riding on Sky's shoulders. Do you use it to try to deny a headshot coming in from Rifler, or do you deny it with the rockets? I really want to see Castleton work together with Sky in order to deny Texor these direct hits coming in from the Pharah, as we are going to see Ulsic just try their best to contest this card, and Rifler gets a huge pick onto Beer King, taking out an important piece of DPS for Nike Exiles. But BEESWARM loses their main tank. They lose a lot of the ability to aggress onto Nike Exiles, and in fact, Nike Exiles force out the nano boost here just to try to provide enough space for Rifler to continue to get these headshots.
I mean, Ulsic on this D.Va right now is putting in a lot of work, not only mitigating the damage coming in from Nike Exiles, but also just securing kills in the end. Rifler is having a field day right now. The sightlines that we spoke about coming into this map, Rifler is taking massive advantage to, and it looks like we're going to have the pharmacy coming out. Jazz is going to go ahead and work with Sneaky Salmon. I think that you've got to figure out where, first of all, Rifler is, and how are you going to take them down?
Well, a D.Va Bomb might be a way to do it, at least for BEESWARM, and Sneaky Salmon does get caught out by that bomb. So this is another way that Nike Exiles are going to have to reset here, regardless of the fact that they have 4 ultimates online ready to go.
Losing the mech right there for Ulsic, probably one of the worst things that could have happened there. Got caught in that little room with both the tanks from Nike Exiles. That's going to be the cue to push forward. And I'm liking the shield experimental placement, shield placement by Castleton. Really mitigating what's coming up from above from Texor with Barrage in hand. Rifler, you know, has sights available. I think you wait until you really need it and you want to see where the flankers are coming from.
Well, even though we did get a chance to see Nike Exiles take a push forward to this first checkpoint, BEESWARM coming back in like the Angry Hornets that they are, but Sneaky Salmon's not letting that slide. Rifler gets caught out by some rockets, and that means that there's no Widowmaker to contest Sneaky Salmon in the skies, and that is going to continue this domino effect of this red lighting up the kill feed for Nike Exiles to push this cart forward if they can spot Marby.
I think did spot Marby, but Rifler does get taken down, does take down Sneaky Salmon, but the res is available there. I think I would have saved the res there because, you know, you've already captured the point. Save it for somebody that follows maybe in the next mid fight. Looks like Neptunes is going to go ahead and swap over to the Winston now, so more of a more traditional dive coming out from them. Left the mines in the spawn, and Texor is going to go ahead and take off to the Echo, so a little bit more of a mobility dive than we saw even before.
Really taking a look at the dive now coming out from BEESWARM, as it's going to be very difficult to find the right target to dive onto for the composition that Nike Exiles is running. Sneaky Salmon gets super, super low, but Jazz is there in order to heal them up, and the immortality field as well, as Sneaky Salmon lets it rip. Doesn't find too much value from the barrage though, but there's some value from this bomb pushing all the members of Nike Exiles back so that BEESWARM can clean up. But as I say that, Nike Exiles fighting back. Jazz got a huge res off onto Castleton, bringing the Sigma back into the fight, and especially with this Gravitic Flux online, even though they might not need it, they do have it as a potential plan B if they can't get through this Winston Primal Rage.
And I think that he used that Primal Rage to keep himself up and stop the aggression coming in here and allowing his teammates to get back to the point to contest before we get around the corner of death here. Nice positioning from Castleton, pushing up towards the end of point B. Has the Gravitic Flux inline. Supercharger is going to be invested by Devil King Necra, and I think that's going to help them secure this point.
Supercharger, absolutely a huge asset to the Nike Exiles, but unfortunately, Texor on the Echo is playing just as well as we saw them play the Pharah, using the Focus Beam and using those sticky bombs in order to take down these low health targets on Nike Exiles.
You know, only one ultimate invested there into that fight by Exiles, just the Supercharger, so I think that this Gravitic Flux could be a very pivotal turning point here in the corner of death here on point 2. Texor The duplicate, I want to see what they decide they're going to change.
Duplicate. Sigma, not really a surprise here. As you go up, you go down. The Gravitic Flux, just such an impactful ultimate to have, especially when you force out the Immortality Field so early. That means that that Immortality Field's not online when Texor gets a chance to use this Gravitic Flux. And even though they get taken out before they're able to get a second one online, Neptunes does get the Nano boost, and that's still more pressure for BEESWARM to put onto the team of Nike Exiles. Castleton gets very low, able to get away though, and Sneaky Salmon continues to barrage from the skies, making it super, super difficult for BEESWARM to keep up their contest here on defense.
Olsen does have that self-destruct available and online, but so low health, I don't know if you want to really invest it in this point, but they are going to go ahead and invest behind the shielding.
Behind the shielding doesn't get anybody though. That's going to be a huge ticket for Nike Exiles to come back into this one and continue their fight forward. But Texor's making it very difficult to happen, focusing down the Pharah in the skies when they're getting pocketed by Jazz. I'm not sure if that's really the target that you want to have here, but as Jazz gets pulled away, that's the opening for Texor to take them down, and this contest continues for BEESWARM.
My goodness, 10 seconds left on the clock, and you've got Bob available to contest the point. Should they be able to get back in? Also, you have the Primal Rage again available from Neptunes. I think Texor, if they get enough headshots and enough damage, might be able to duplicate once more.
Even though the amplification comes out, the amplification matrix looks like it's kind of working the other direction. BEESWARM able to take them out with the Bob and able to contest point, and that's going to be the goalpost getting set here for the second map of Rialto.
DPS swaps coming out of BEESWARM was probably the biggest turning point there. Also, Neptune's bringing out that little bit of shielding from a very diminished Winston bubble. You know, it used to be so much stronger in the earlier iterations of Dive back in former patches. 600 points of damage is not very, or shielding is not very much, but it did enough. It did enough to allow the team to coalesce around it, get the group healing up if it was needed, and also as a vantage point for them to dive onto targets as they needed to. Olsik is putting up a hell of a performance here on the Diva, but I also like what Sneaky Salmon is bringing out. The far from them not to be outmatched by Texors.
I want to go back to the point that you made about the Winston, because especially when you're running a dive, it's so important for the Winston to really utilize those bubbles effectively, and that's something that you pointed out that Neptunes was doing a great job of, which was just controlling the map space and denying damage coming in from Nike Exiles despite the DPS choices that they were using. But take a look at the DPS choices now. Nike Exiles going with a full poke.
Like the damage. I like it from the long sights. The long sight lines here, especially on the first and second points, that you can really mitigate the aggression coming from a dive-centric team. Neptunes, though, going back over to the Wrecking Ball, it looks like, and that's going to be a massive amount of mitigation of going into the back line and also getting the distraction from those long sight lines. I really like the aggression that a Wrecking Ball can do. You know, it's going to be so nerve-wracking to these healers and DPS that they're not going to know which way to look.
You're right about that one. Wrecking Ball going into the backline for BEESWARM is really making Nike Exiles think about the way that they have to look. You can see the experimental barrier kind of pivoting forward, backwards, to the side as Texor finds the first kill of this round. Taking out Sneaky Salmon in the skies means that there is no real aerial dependency that BEESWARM kind of has to worry about right now. They can just kind of take over, and that they are. Courtyard is getting cleaned up as BEESWARM moves his cart forward.
You know, quick little kill onto Emerald from Jazz, but Jazz is taken out immediately by Texor. And I'm liking the sight lines that Texor and this Pharmacy combo are doing. They're getting up high, and they're going almost at a 90-degree angle to what the shielding is being presented from Nike Exiles. And I mean, if you've got two crossfires coming in, which way do you choose to aggress onto that?
Gotta look in all directions, especially at the Nano Fair Barrage that's right in front of you. Immortality Field comes out just in the nick of time, though, from the Nike Exiles. Great heads-up play by Sky in order to keep the team alive, but unfortunately, one of the shields is lost, and you've got the sticky bombs removing this mech here from Olsik, so things are pretty even, but unfortunately for Nike Exiles, they have to go back to the drawing board as this cart from BEESWARM continues to move forward.
And looking at the ultimate usage, that nano boost coming on to the far absolutely kept Texor up, and also mitigate or demonstrated a lot of damage going through the supports of Sky and Jazz. Uh, the Bat Brigida combo is not really one that we hear about so very often, but I mean, the stun ability I think is what you're using Jazz really for. The Inspire healing is good. Rally, the armor is going to be something they're going to have to look at moving through here as they are just making a lightning push through this point.
Rally armor needs to come on soon so it can actually stack up before BEESWARM starts to aggress, but unfortunately BEESWARM is already here. Rally armor might not come early enough, and it's not soon enough to protect the team of Nike Exiles from Olsik's Diva Bomb. Continuing to make moves is the team of BEESWARM as this cart still rolls forward, getting closer and closer to this golden box of victory for Rialto.
And Casilton bringing out the Wrecking Ball of their own to kind of really stop the point here. Gets booped off with a concussion blast by Texor. That takes your main tank out of the line.
Does take your main tank out of the line, which means there's not going to be any protection coming in from these rockets again from this barrage. That might seal the deal here as BEESWARM, this cart, Castleton, the last standing member of Nike Exiles to push this cart and contest it for their team. So to buy some time for their team to come back as they go down. That is BEESWARM taking the second map.
Wow, we talked about maybe the lack of shielding and versus the mobility that's being shown by BEESWARM, and right now mobility is winning the day, Necra, as we see just the speed runs as they aggress into Nike Swarm's defenses. I'm really liking just the interruption and disruption that Neptunes is providing right now.
Yeah, Neptunes has been doing a great job of just pivoting that attention of the Nike Exiles away from the DPS. And you could kind of tell with the where the experimental barrier was going from Nike Exiles that they were definitely looking in the backwards direction, which just created so much space for those DPS to pop off on on BEESWARM.
And Ulsik on the Diva right now, mitigating the damage coming into him as they are trying to push the point forward. With Neptunes in the back, half the team has to turn around because he's not a slack on this wrecking ball. Getting mines twice in the fight, and you've got to really decide: are you going to focus forward and let him do his thing in the back and commit one person to it, or are you going to commit the whole team in a quick turnaround, deal with the wrecking ball, then come back and deal with the rest of the attackers or the rest of BEESWARM minus their main tank?
The main tank difference is definitely one that I feel like can be felt on King's Row, which is the map that we're going to next in the series. But I like this choice coming out from Nike Exiles, knowing that they play a lot of Reinhardt on this team.
Indeed, and I mean Ryan Zarya is a very good choice here. The real question is, will Neptune and Ulsik be able to continue the Diva Wrecking Ball combo, or are they going to have to revert to some other kind of meta? Because Reinhardt pushing into a Wrecking Ball, I mean, yes, the mobility is there, but Diva versus Zarya, that's where it gets a little bit dicey. Plus, the bubble management is going to have to be huge to keep the side from Nike Exiles up.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's talk more about the off tank difference here too, because Zarya usually is the pair for a Reinhardt, but in recent days and recent weeks, we've seen a lot of potentially Sigma coming in to support this hero too, and maybe even in Orisa and the Chinese contenders is what we've gotten a chance to see for that kind of tank, secondary tank there.
Right. I mean, Orisa Sig obviously very strong. Ryan Sig we have seen a lot though. I'm really wondering, does Ulsik have more in the off tank department other than the Diva? Can they bring out the Sigma? Can they bring out even a main tank in that vein? Ryan Wrecking Ball is still maintaining the shielding, still maintaining that oppression that Ulsik has really been pushing on to Nike Exiles. Can you do that in a main tank role with the same shielding and then letting Neptune just run wild?
Yeah, I definitely wonder about that too from Bee Swarm taking a look at how Neptune has really played this, they have kind of still utilized the Wrecking Ball and the Diva. And like on first point of King's Row, Wrecking Ball can be pretty good, especially when you think about the number of flanks that you can have just kind of going back towards the spawn for the defenders as Nike Exiles walks out of their defender spawn first.
Indeed, and I mean, I like the Wrecking Ball really going through the hotels, grappling up to the high ground, and then coming in and just pile driving into the back line and letting your DPS and your other supports really rain havoc on them. Looks like they might be bringing out Rhine Diva, though. I think that they might be looking towards having the shielding here on the first point. I still think that the Wrecking Ball could work from Neptune's.
Wrecking Ball definitely going to be a problem if they were to come out on it, but it looks like Neptune's is going to be trying their hand at really solidifying that main tank difference. But I love that Nike Exiles are sticking to this poke composition, especially with Devil King on this Orisa and Castellan on this Sigma. There's a lot of shielding that they will be able to kind of keep Rifler's damage at bay, but with the flashbang, that's one way to kind of stop that Sigma from putting up that experimental barrier, but it's not enough. Sneaky Salmon still finds their mark and continues to win out the 1v1s with these sticky bombs coming through, and that's going to be major cleanup for Nike Exiles.
Rock combos are a beautiful thing, and you love to see it when they get it above the shielding of BEESWARM, and I mean, just perfect execution on it. The lift and rock, as I like to call it, is one of the most beneficial defensive tools that Nike Exiles is going to be able to bring into this. The ultimate charge, though, being shown right now from both Nike and Swarms. Nike is at a massive advantage here. I mean, almost has Bob online for Beer King. Sky already has the amplification matrix online.
Regardless of the amplification matrix coming online, Neptunes was able to get a quick pick onto Beer King, just removing that DPS from the lineup here. But still, Nike Exiles continuing their phenomenal hold at this point with the Gravitic Flux coming out and just the cleanup coming through. I love that Sneaky Salmon ended up using this duplicate for the Winston in order to just provide some sustainability and doesn't even need to use the ult.
Yeah, that's a great duplicate, and I mean, we've seen it a lot in Owl and in Contenders. A lot of times you will see the Echo duplicate the Winston, not only for the extra shielding, but also getting that primal rage should you need to use it is an absolutely crucial tool in the
Well, it's the battle of the shields as it is Orisa walking forward for Texor, but not able to get that supercharger online before they get taken out of the duplicate form. So BEESWARM once again have to go back to the drawing board as Nike Exiles have a clean ultimate rotation that they're able to use to keep their control.
And now you have Supercharger online from Nike Exiles, and as we all know, this is one of the game-changing ults. I love that the positioning from Devil King right now, getting out there, getting up forward enough that they can actually get enough value from it. But Castellan is also able to really defend the flanks.
Defend the flanks they are, but not from the Diva bomb. That shielding wasn't enough to protect Devil King from the bomb coming out from Ulsik, and that was the opener that BEESWARM needed. With that shield down, that was the biggest difference that I saw coming out from Nike Exiles, was how substantial that Orisa play has really been for Nike Exiles to keep control of this point, and once it was gone, that's the point going over to BEESWARM.
I guess maybe they have figured out what their win condition is take down Devil King in the mid fight and really deny the use not only of the shielding and the fortify, but also the supercharger once it comes out. And I like the pick from also getting into their backline and getting behind the shielding. You just got to think right now with the amplification matrix coming up from Sky, how far is this street phase going to last for BEESWARM?
We'll have to find out here as there are trades coming through left and right for both Nike Exiles and BEESWARM, but as the amplification matrix is online for Nike Exiles, they're able to use that window of opportunity to create some opportunity for their team moving forward. Sneaky Salmon now duplicating the Winston once again, recognizing that the Winston's going to be able to provide that primal rage in order to just disrupt this attack coming in from BEESWARM, but they didn't even use it. They actually ended up just going ahead and finding that the Tesla cannon damage was going to be more important here, as Neptunes lets it rip with that Primal Rage and really creates space for Rifler's Tracer.
The amazing thing here that I'm seeing, Necra, is that the double shielding is being completely negated by Neptune just walking past them or jumping past them, throwing his own bubble down and getting so much damage into the back line and the tank line of Nike Exiles that you just have to think, well, what do you have to do to stop Neptune and Ulsic right now?
Neptune and Ulsic are doing a phenomenal job on the front line of BEESWARM, especially creating some havoc, but ooh, Texor takes a little bit of a dive there, as so does Castleton, getting booped off the edge of the map, and that is going to be the second point captured for BEESWARM.
Rifler does have Pulse Bomb available to BEESWARM in this next attack. Ulsic deciding to jump off the edge and get the mech back quickly. Not much to defend again, or to really stop the aggression. You've got both tank ultimates almost online. Jazz pulling out the Brigitte here is going to have that armor increase with the rally as they start to aggressive here, Necro.
The rally needs to come out soon for that armor to stack on top of each other, but it's the supercharger that comes out first for the Nike Exiles. That is in a precarious position, as you see Texor take that down immediately, as well as the immortality field. So lots of pieces of BEESWARM's kit just getting mitigated here as they continue to aggress forward. Rifler unfortunately misses the pulse bomb, but they're continuing to work their way up towards another one, as it's kind of hit or miss kind of where they're really targeting down in terms of the contest coming back through from Nike Exiles here. Gravitic Flux from Castleton just to try to buy some time for the rest of their team to come back, but Neptune's is there, the sound barrier's online, the sustain is here, and so is the Earth Shatter. That's going to stop everybody from being able to touch this card.
Nice little push there in the end. The duplicate coming out onto the Reinhardt from Nike Exiles, and that was a very fast shatter that was gained by Texor, taking full advantage of it, and 1 minute 55 seconds left in the time bank to capture all 3 points of King's Row here, Necra. And you have to think, what is it that's going to be able to break the tank line of BEESWARMs if you're Nike Exiles?
I feel like they did a good job of that on the first point defense, though, where they did get a chance to break the tank line down. But as we've noticed, BEESWARM switching over to the dive has made it difficult for Nike Exiles to have a stand.
I think that Neptune is really getting a lot of value on this Winston. He gets in, he gets out, you know, the resources being poured into him, and the backup being provided by Ulsic, mitigating a ton of damage coming into him. I'd be very interested to see what Ulsic's, what his damage block is, or their damage block is right now. But Jazz going back over to this Ana, we saw quite a few anti-nades coming in from the previous maps. Will that be the turning point here as they get and stop the support coming in from Marby and Emerald?
Anti-nade, such a crucial part of Nike Exile's engagement plan in terms of just hitting the go button, hitting mouse M1W, and just making sure that they're able to aggress onto the double shields that BEESWARM has provided. Sigma, Reinhardt, we talked about how this composition has been seeing a lot more gameplay, but there's the anti-nade coming through, and that's the go signal for Sneaky Salmon to get some of these rockets online and ready to go as they make their way through the hotel and try their best. I think we've got a couple of technical difficulties here for the match, but there it is, and a sleep comes through as well, as Sneaky Salmon is able to take out Rifler, but unfortunately loses their own life for it as BEESWARM continues their hold despite all of these anti-nades coming through.
I mean, the aggression being shown by BEESWARM right now on this defense is absolutely crucial. You've got to think that they have to be able to push forward. Anti-nades, once again, being the name of the game right now, Necra, as Jazz is just landing them with such surgical precision and just denying the support coming from the line of BEESWARM. I think she needs to be a focus for Rifler and Texor.
Definitely seems to be, especially because we saw 2 massive anti-nades get landed on the previous team fight, but I hope that this Earth Shatter is going to be enough. Doesn't seem to find anything through the double shields of BEESWARM, but what about this Fair Barrage? Sneaky Salmon has been sitting on it, waiting for this Immortality Field to go down and finding an angle so they can hit these rockets. But the Nano Boost goes on to Castleton on this Zarya, really trying to make use of the charge that they have as BEESWARM answers with a Blizzard and seems to have continued their control. 2 minutes left on the clock for Nike Exiles.
I mean, the ultimate advantage is definitely on the side of Nike Exiles right now. I think that they just really wanted to stabilize the defense there, throwing out the Blizzard and Rally, respectively. Neptune's also throwing his Shatter into the matter. But where is Rifler going to set up to get this Deadeye off? And will Olsik be able to pull enough people into this Gravitic Flux that he has online to really stymie this attack?
Rifler trying to keep people at bay though as Castleton gets taken out before getting a chance to use the grab. Nike Exiles were hoping to use the grab with the Fair Barrage as a combination of ultimates, and unfortunately they just aren't able to do that. It continues to control this point and this series. BEESWARM are not giving up an inch.
You'd love to see it. I mean, this is controlled, measured aggression and the defensive posturing from BEESWARM. Their positioning is so key. Using the hotel to deny the lines of sight from Sneaky Salmon. Beer King is going to have the Blizzard online as well. This has got to be an ult dump here.
Oh, it's gonna be an ult dump, and it's a dumpster fire for BEESWARM as Nike Exiles hits their mark with the Blizzard, the Graviton, and the Farah Barrage on top of it, leaving the Nano Boost and the Earth Shatter for Streets phase.
I mean, Hexar is going to have the Blizzard pretty much the next time they engage into this fight, and you've got to be, working the Streets phase here of King's Row. Ultimates are going to win out, and a nice sleep coming in from Jazz onto Neptune, and also has to pop inside and save their main tank.
Well, I love the Blizzard in response to the Earth Shatter coming through. It really denied Devil King the ability to follow up on the Earth Shatter that they were able to hit from the sleep coming onto Neptune's, and this cart hasn't made too much progress yet. 2.5 minutes left for Nike Exiles to push this forward.
Really enjoy the archway defense, as we call it in the console scene, holding here behind this car or behind the archway, and then just kind of trying to section them off with the Maywall. But it looks like they progressed past the archway, so now Bookstore seems to be the flavor of the day.
Bookstore is definitely the place to be right now, but not if you're Jazz. Gonna get caught out by that Deadeye coming in from Rifler, and so does Sky with the right click coming through. BEESWARM again continuing their hold. What did you call this again? This hold here, the archway hold.
The archway hold, yeah. Being in Missouri, and I love to call things from my state. And yeah, I mean, it's such a good spot because you can hide behind the wall there and really let the aggression come at you. And Texor, once again, able to really cordon people off should they use the wall in the right way. And I'm minute 45 on the clock, Necra, and there's zero progress being made right now.
Fire Strike comes through, and it's a pretty hefty one. Does buy Neptune's this Earth Shatter as 4 other ultimates come online. Another Deadeye coming out from Rifler, and to freeze it all and to try to get as much value as possible is going to be the Blizzard on top of it with the bomb. That was well done by BEESWARM. Just the Blizzard able to coordinate this play, crowd control the team of Nike Exiles so that bomb could land.
Huge anti-nade coming in once again from Jazz, but not really able to follow up behind it. Jazz does have the Nano Boost available. Devil King did work up to another Earth Shatter in the fight, and it looks like Sneaky Salmon has a duplicate online. I'm going to guess they're going to go onto the Reinhardt as they did last time.
Taking a look at the Reinhardt here, as we do see a stun come through onto Texor. That was a huge stun actually coming through 3 members of BEESWARM getting the bop as the sound barrier comes through from Nike Exiles just as the lash pushed forward. 30 seconds remain, and this is gonna have to be it from Nike Exiles as another Deadeye comes through from Rifler, getting the front line, and the DPS just might not be enough from Nike Exiles. Everybody has to back up.
I mean, based upon what we saw from the tank line from the first two maps, this Ryan Diva combo from Neptune's Olsing is absolutely showing up and showing out, denying any kind of space, and the DPS of Rifler and Texor just denying any kind of aggression coming on flanks, straight on, head on, it doesn't matter, they've got it covered.
Well, this is the last chance. We do have 1 second remaining as the clock enters overtime. Beer King is ready with this blizzard where we don't really see a keen answer from BEESWARM on how they're really going to deal with this blizzard coming through or this Earth Shatter. So might be the opportunity the Nike Exiles needs in order to get this second objective, as we do see a couple of members get frozen, and BEESWARM, those are Texers, able to come online just in the nick of time, and it kind of looks like BEESWARM are going to be able to take this one and take the series.
I mean, what an important blizzard coming out from Texor, and then self-destruct from Olsing. That's going to spell the end of this overtime period, and 3-0 to BEESWARM, coming in the underdogs at 2-2 against Nike Exiles at 4-3-1. Clean sweep, bring the brooms out, ladies and gentlemen, as BEESWARM shows us how to run a dive, and a metal dive at that.
BEESWARM living up to their namesake with the dive, it kind of seems like, as they find a target and they go after it. But I gotta give Nike Exiles a lot of credit because this series, especially King's Row, was pretty close, what I would say. Especially when they had those first couple of maps to warm up, Nike Exiles really showed up in that third map.
I thought they were going to take Rialto, to be honest. I thought Nike Swarm had a great push going forward, but it was just great individual plays and the ability to stall when you need to stall that I think B Swarm really shone at today. They would take the 2v4, 2v5 maps and just, do the Muhammad Ali, chuck and diving, stay out of my way, rope a dope. And that's one of the biggest things that I think that Swarm showed today is that their ability to not only contest when they're down a man, but to stay up while a man is down was what really carried the day for them.
Taking disadvantaged fights, forcing out ultimates, and then winning the day with some stellar individual play. Congratulations to BEESWARM, our winners of today's showcase of the GGEU Expert Division. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all stick around for NA. That's going to be coming up later today. We've got 2 more matches for you, starting at 8.